Good morning and welcome to lesson 1.1, where we will be talking about the SI system and SI length. We'll talk about what the SI system is, who uses it and where it came from, and converting between SI units for length. So first, the SI system. SI stands for System International. International. And obviously that's not quite English. So in English that translates to, as you could probably guess, international system. Or more commonly known as the metric system. Now, these were developed in France, as you can tell by Système International being in French. So they were developed in France. And in 1871, they were legalized in Canada, and therefore the SI system is what we use in Canada. The SI base unit for length that is the meter. And what a base unit is the unit that all other things are based off of. Also, its name has no prefix. Remember, a prefix is a thing in front of a word. So, for example, a kilometer or a kilometer has the prefix kilo, telling you how many, and the base unit meter. So it's based on a meter and it tells you how many. So just some quick review here. We're going to be multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. I'm going to do some examples and then you're going to do some examples. So 9.9 multiplied by 10 to the power of 5. So you could go to your calculator, but it's much faster to do it by hand. So 9.9 times 10 to the power of 5. So to do this the quick lazy way, what you're going to do is you're going to look at this number here. That number there tells you how far you're going to move the decimal. So we have 9.9, and this 10 to the power of 5 means we're going to move the decimal 5 places. Now because this is a positive 5, we don't write it, but we could. That means we're going to move it to the right. The number's going to get bigger. So I'll move it 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all these spots that don't have anything, we'll fill them with zeros. Oops. So there's our answer. So 9.9 times 10 to the power of 5 is 990,000. Alright, number 2. 3.92 times 10 to the negative 4. So the same idea, we're going to start with our number out front. But this time, when we move the decimal, actually I should move this whole number. Put it there for now, and you'll see why. Our exponent is negative this time. So when it's negative, our number gets smaller, which means we move the decimal to the left. How many spots? 4 spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's where our decimal is now. All the empty spots you fill up with zeros. So now our answer, and we can have a 0 in front of the decimal too, is 0.000 392. And last one, number 3, 4.67 times 10,000. So just like when we're doing it with exponents, except we don't have an exponent this time, we are actually just going to count how many zeros that this number has. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means we're going to move the decimal 4 times. Because 10,000 is a big number, as opposed to if it was 0.1, we are going to make the number bigger or move the decimal to the right. So that would be 4.67, but we're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, because that's 4 zeros. Just 2 spots here. We're going to fill with zeros. So our answer is 46,700. Alright. So, now that I've done some examples, I want you to do these 4. So pause the video and try these. Then hit the play button again, and I'll have gone through the answers. So double check your answers, make sure they match up with mine. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me, okay? So, moving on. Converting SI units of length. Now this is one way. It's kind of the scenic route, but it works every time. In the next lesson, I'll show you a different way that uses our formula sheet. So, it is exactly like the math we just did, except you're going to be using a table of SI prefixes. That is this one here. Alright, so this one here has all of the prefixes, the things that you would put in front of the base unit, and tells you what they are in exponential form and how many of the unit that is. So for example, a kilometer means 1,000 meters. So it tells you how many of the base unit. So that was just an example. Anyway, let's go back to these steps. So step number 1, you'll find the unit that you're given. Step 2, find the unit you want. And then we'll do some stuff with the exponents. We'll take the exponent from the unit you're given, subtract the exponent from the unit you want. Now multiply your starting value by 10 to the power of your answer from step 3. Now, I know that sounds like a lot, so we'll do an example. Alright, 77 kilometers into centimeters. So, step number 1, we'll find the unit you are given. Alright, we are starting with kilometers. And if we go look at our chart, kilometers was 10 to the power of 3. Alright. Step 2, find the unit that you want, the one you're changing to, which is centimeters. Now centimeters, what does centi mean? Let's go look at our chart. And centi means, oops, my thing's in the way. Centi means 10 to the minus 2, to the negative 2. 10 to the negative 2. Alright, step 1 and 2 done. So, our third step, take the exponent from the unit you're given, that's our first number, and subtract the exponent from the unit you want. So what that means is, we're going to take this number, and then subtract this number. Alright, so step number 3 is 3 subtract negative 2. Now remember, when we are subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding the opposite. So 3 subtract negative 2 is the same thing as 3 plus positive 2. So that is just 5. And step number 4, multiply your starting value by 10 to the power of whatever step 3 was. So we're going to take our 77, multiply it by 10 to the power of this number. Now it's just like the math we were doing before. So because it's a positive, we're going to move the decimal to make it bigger. Now when there is no decimal, remember, it's always at the end. We're going to move it 5 times. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to fill up all those spots with zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our answer is, ooh, big number, 7,700,000. 1, 2, 3. Cool. All right, one more quick example. We're going to convert, what is that, 7 million nanometers into millimeters. So nanometers into millimeters. So again, step 1 was find the unit that you're given. That's nanometers. So let's look at that on our chart. We have to scroll down. Oh, there's nano. So nano is 10 to the power of negative 9. Alright, so let's write that down. Nano is 10 to the negative 9. Alright. Now let's find millimeters. Milli. There it is. Millimeters are 10 to the power of negative 3. Oops. So let's write that down. Milli is 10 to the power of negative 3. Alright, step 3 was take this number and subtract this number. So we'll take our negative 9 and subtract negative 3. So remember, we said that when you're subtracting a negative, that's the same as adding the opposite. So negative 9 plus positive 3, that's just negative 6. And step 4 was to take our first number, that's 7 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, times 10 to the power of whatever our step 3 was, so this number. So that's 10 to the power of negative 6. So that means we're going to take our 7 million, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to move the decimal 6 spots, but because it's negative, it will be to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now our decimal is right there, and which means we don't need to write all these zeros. So our answer is just 7 millimeters, and that's it. So now, what I want you to do is, using these examples, do these self-check questions and make sure you check your answers. If you have questions, ask me. Thanks.